In these problems, we're being asked to subtract some fractions, and they do not have common denominators. So this is a tricky business here. The steps are we have to make these fractions have common denominators first by doing some multiplication. And once they have common denominators, then we can do the subtraction. The things we multiply are forms of the number 1. So any number over itself you can multiply by any fraction, and it'll stay the same value. So if we multiplied 3/7 by 2 over 2, we'd get 6/14. 6/14 equals 3/7. They're equivalent. So we're not really changing the numbers or changing the value of the fraction. We're just changing the numbers on the top and the bottom, but still they'll mean the same thing. So we're going to grab these guys and multiply them until we can make common denominators. Now that I've grabbed this 2 by 2, I think I might just keep it there and multiply this fraction by 2 by 2, 2 over 2, and this fraction by 7 over 7. The reason I would do that is because on the bottom I get 7 times 2 and 7 times 2. So I'm going to have 14 for my denominator. So that works. Let's do the multiplication. When you multiply fractions, you multiply across the top and you multiply across the bottom. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. So that's 1/2. It's 7/14. And that makes sense. 7 is half of 14. All right, I'll put my minus sign in. And then let's do the multiplication here. 3 times 2 is 6. And 7 times 2 is 14. So 3/7 is 6/14 apparently. Now we have the same denominator. We can subtract the numbers on the top. So 7 minus 6 is 1, and then we just put that over our common denominator. So the answer here is 1/14. All right, let's try this next one. We have 2/5 minus 1/3. I think I'm going to follow the same pattern here, where I take this denominator and choose that number in the fraction to multiply the other fraction by, and this denominator to multiply the first fraction by. This always works to give you a common denominator. It might not be the smallest common denominator, but it'll always give you a common denominator. So let's do our multiplication. 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 5 is 15. Then we have our minus sign. 1 times 5 is 5, and 3 times 5 is 15. Aha. So on the top we have 6 minus 5. So 6/15 minus 5/15 is 1/15. So that is how to do some subtraction with fractions with different denominators.